they're frozen cold and gray, perched on ledges, holding decay, silent guardians watching the fray. But when shadows fall, they stir and rise, eyes glowing red, fire in disguise. Stone by day, hunters by night, wings of wrath take to the fight. They chase the dark, they bring the light. Gargoyles roam till the evil's out of sight. Claws like razors, wings of bone, cracking thunder, a hollow groan. They guard the streets, but they're never known. When the stars appear, they break their chains. The wicked scream, the night remains. Stone by day, hunters by night, wings of wrath take to the fight. They chase the dark, they bring the light. Gargoyles roam till the evil's out of sight.
The sun is slowly descending below the horizon. Soon, evil will flood the streets. The innocent will be preyed upon, and sorrow will fill hearts. With the darkness comes the beings of the dark. There is hope during these dark times, something that is also reborn in the dark. These things fight the darkness that hunts the defenseless. A beautiful blonde, curly-haired woman in a fluffy, light blue dress is walking the streets. Her home is still a couple streets away. She had been out with her friends enjoying a show and dinner. The street lanterns that are evenly spaced along Hotel D, they provide a small relief from the darkness that has shrouded the streets of Paris. Alice looked up to the street of La R.E., and she could faintly see Notre Dame. She smiled slightly as she saw the massive cathedral. A strange, screechy sound came from the shadows. Alice stopped and gasped as fright began to take hold of her. Bernard had offered to escort her home after the show, but she had refused. She had walked these streets at night on many separate occasions, and she had never had any trouble before. But her body began to tremble. She was now wishing that she had allowed him to escort her home. A strange shape began to manifest before her, and she froze in fright. The demon-looking, ghastly creature with red, glowing eyes and sharp, talon-like claws at the end of its fingers began to slowly step towards her. Its mouth opened, revealing blackened, sharp teeth with drool dripping from them. Alice's heart began to pound hard and fast in her chest. She tried to let out a scream, but nothing would come out. She was finally able to take a step back, but was cut off by the demon. It had moved so fast that she could not see its movements. It had its cold hands around her neck. It lifted her off the ground, and tears began to form in the corners of her eyes. Then, up above, the sound of massive wings flapping could be heard. It took everything that Alice had to look up. Much to her delight, she saw it flying towards them. It was a gargoyle, and it was coming to rescue you. The demon dropped her and turned to face the approaching threat. It let out a demonic roar at the gargoyle just before being knocked from its feet. The demon liquefied back into the shadows. The gargoyle turned its head and looked upon her before spreading its wings and flying off.
Today we're going to take a look into another creature from mythology that I know a lot of us have liked. There is current reports of these creatures. A lot of stuff I've seen, I'm pretty convinced it's AI. I'm not saying that these things still exist or have ever existed, but I will not deny the possibility these things are still around. And that's the mythological creature called the gargoyle. Gargoyles are an architectural feature that have existed for thousands of years. Initially designed to filter rainwater away from the edges of buildings, they also have an arcane purpose to ward off evil spirits. Gargoyles were first created to prevent structural damage to buildings by preventing rainwater from running down the sides of a monument or eroding the mortar between the stonework. They are most commonly associated with the grand architectural of the Middle Ages, and they generally take the form of a grotesque figure spurting the water from its fearsome-looking mouth. This grotesque appearance is why gargoyle-like creatures on the sides of buildings with no structural purpose are known as grotesque. Their unusual and distinctive appearance makes them a favorite feature of old buildings for many people, and they are even the topic of several legends and folk tales. What are gargoyles? The English term gargoyle is French in origin. It comes from the words gargoyle, meaning throat, and greiser, meaning to gurgle. This reflects the fact that the waters tend to come out of its mouth of the gargoyle. The terms for gargoyles in other languages tends to be more descriptive. In Latin, a gargoyle is called a ducoin, o granda, sporgrante, which translates to protruding gutter, while the German word Weiser means water spewer. The Dutch term a water spewer has the more visual translation water vomiter. Gargoyles are carved from stone and take many forms. A large number of them depict chimeras, bizarre hybrid creatures mixing different animal parts. These include familiar chimeras such as griffins, a lion-eagle mix, and harpies, a half-woman, half-bird, but also more obstructed mixtures. Many of the hundreds of gargoyles on the medieval cathedral of Notre Dame are or were chimeras. The most common, or I should say the most famous of these is the Strix or the Strega, a human hybrid which is posed with its head in its hands. It is the gargoyles of Notre Dame, which have provided the popular image of gargoyles as horned creatures with wings, which is how many people picture them today. They were not added to the cathedral until the 1800s, but were carefully designed and made to look like they were from the Middle Ages rather than later additions. As their function was to protect the buildings from erosion, many gargoyles bear the brunt of the inclement weather and storms. This makes them prone to damage and erosion. The gargoyles of legend. With such bizarre appearances, gargoyles have inspired many authors over the years. They feature predominantly in Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame, along with Disney's movie of the same name, and in modern fiction such as shows like Doctor Who, Futurama, and Gargoyles. Believed by many to ward off evil spirits, the myth of the gargoyle took on a new life with the relatively recent idea that the stone beast came to life in the dead of night to physically fight off spirits and act as guardians. Their fearsome looks have also led them to possess that they are evil creatures, rather as a demonic being possessed by the souls of demons or former human souls, or beings brought to life through their supernatural. Some stories center around gargoyles in a Pinocchio-type scenario, but with the architects imbuing them with their hatred and sinful thoughts. They have also been depicted as a mythological race. This is a more modern idea, and it appears in games and mythos such as the world of Dungeons & Dragons. The idea of gargoyles being a race includes such details as them laying eggs, which hatch and blend in as new architectural features, seemingly unnoticed by humans who visit the buildings. The original legend of the gargoyle, or it's more accurately Gargoyle, was French, and it described the heroic endeavors of Saint Romanus, a 7th century bishop of Rouen, who was said to have saved the region from a monster called the Gargoyle. The Gargoyle was similar to a dragon with wings, a long serpent-like neck, and the ability to breathe fire. Saint Romanus was able to subdue the Gargoyle with a crucifix and the help of a condemned man. They led the creature back to Rouen, where it was burned. The head and the neck did not burn because it has the ability to breathe fire, making them impervious to this. And they were subsequently mounted on the wall of the church in honor of the contribution made by the condemned man. It became tradition for the Archbishop of Rouen to pardon one person each year during the pardoning of the relic of Saint Romanus. Just like the Gargoyle of legend, stone gargoyles were mounted on the walls of churches. They are usually intricate, and it would be extremely hard to carve them if this was done in situ. Let's look into the ancient origins of the gargoyle. While they are most commonly associated with medieval architecture, their functional purpose means they have been around far longer than this. They appear in architecture in ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, as well as the Etruscan buildings. The oldest known gargoyle is 13,000 years old and located in modern-day Turkey. It is in the form of a stone crocodile. The ancient gargoyles did not ever take the form of chimeras or fictional beasts, but were modeled instead on native animals. The gargoyles in ancient Egypt and Greek architecture were almost all in the form of lions. Many ancient Egyptian gargoyles were also carved from hieroglyphics. The Temple of Zeus originally had 102 marble gargoyles, which depicted lion heads. The marble was extremely heavy, and due to the erosion and the weight of the gargoyles, many of them fell from the temple over time. 39 of the gargoyles survive to this day. For me, I kind of look at this differently than most people. I don't look at this mainstream. For me, I'm looking at this going, okay, that may be how they were at one time, but it doesn't mean that creatures like this didn't exist, and to hide the evidence of them They took one concept, combined it with another to create what we know now, or to give us the illusion of what they want us to know. I'm not saying that's true, but that's definitely in the wellhouse of the realm of possibility, because we know what these people do all the time, hiding stuff from us. I don't know your guys' thoughts on that. That's kind of where my head goes whenever I think about this. Lionhead gargoyles are also a feature on many of the buildings in Pompeii, as well as many of the villas and buildings in Pompeii, were molded on Greek structures. It is an indicator that the lion-headed gargoyles were the norm throughout the ancient Greek world. The lion remained a popular choice for gargoyles in medieval times, which may be due to their prior association with the sun. Their popularity waned when they became associated with the sin of pride, as they were no longer desirable motifs on religious buildings. It is very rare to find domestic cats or gargoyles in medieval period due to their association with witchcraft and the occult. Although most gargoyles depicted mythological beasts or real animals, there is a third kind, depictions of rare people. These gargoyles tend to represent notable figures in the community. Many of them depicted local benefactors, such as people who were funding the work. On other occasions, the stonework was in the image of a person who was carving, or of the architect who designed the building. There are even examples of gargoyle modeled after the local priest or bishops. Let us look into the animals of guardians. While the lion fell from grace, other animals remain popular among architects, and there are a wide variety of animals native to Europe which were chosen to protect buildings. The most commonly used animal was the dog. Dogs were seen as faithful to their masters, loyal, intelligent, and therefore excellent guardians. During the Middle Ages, dogs were generally kept as guardians to protect the house from intruders. This is likely another reason why they were chosen as so often as to subject or as often as the subject of gargoyle. Another commonly chosen creature was the bull. Like dogs, they were respected and perceived as intelligent and protective. They were also recognized as working together in packs, which was the way multiple gargoyles around the building were supposed to help protect the architect. Aside from lions and canines, the eagle was a popular choice. The eagle was a subject of the legends, and it is claimed they were one of the only creatures which could slay a dragon. They were also respected for their amazing vision. Let's look into the gargoyles as messengers. Another reason gargoyles were popular during the Middle Ages is that the fact literally was not common among the general population. The church was able to convey messages through the gargoyle, and one such message was a reminder of evil and the devil. Their ominous presence was a notice that attending Mass was important to remain under the protection of the church. Their perceived magical powers and guardianship of the buildings they graced also reminded the public that the church was a sacred area, free from influence of evil spirits. Now, this kind of bothers me because we see this quite often with churches and stuff like this of the old times, where they're trying to take something old to scare the people to come to them, always come to them. And this is very, very, very common amongst the medieval times, and a lot of times currently too. So this one always brought a little issue with it. However, there were some members of the clergy who spoke out against gargoyles. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, a 12th century leader of the church, was an outspoken critic of gargoyles. He gave a vivid account of this reason for for this, and describing them as unclean, savage, and absurd. Lester Burbank, Bridham, was wary of these interpretations of gargoyles, and in his book Gargoyles, Chimeras and the Grotesque in French Gothic Sculpture, he pointed to the problem of attributing too much symbolism to the sculpture of the Gothic period. While acknowledging their symbolism within the architecture, he did not think there was as many messages as some people believe. Gargoyles do seem to have been used as an aid in converting people who were following pagan religion. Many of them reference pagan traditions and folklore, particularly representations of anthropomorphized animals. Modern day gargoyles. While gargoyles generally conjure images of Gothic cathedrals like Notre Dame and the buildings of medieval Europe, they have remained in use in modern times. The majority of the modern gargoyles are the grotesque, which do not serve as drainage aids, but they are widely given the name gargoyles, and this is what most people consider them to be. Other modern gargoyles can be found on churches, particularly those constructed during the Gothic Revival. The city of Pittsburgh is home to many gargoyles and grotesques, as they become swept up in the Gothic Revival movement, and they captured the imagination of many architects. Construction began on the Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. in 1908. It has a number of gargoyles carved on the limestone. Many of these gargoyles depict more modern beasts, such as Darth Vader or crooked politicians. A clever spin on the idea of grotesque monsters well enough to scare away spirits. The Darth Vader gargoyle in particular was the result of a contest for children, who were tasked with designing a new gargoyle. One of the more notable modern gargoyles was added to the 12th century Paisley Abbey. The church was renovated during the 1990s, at which point several of the original gargoyles needed to be replaced. In an absurd and rather fabulous move, one of the gargoyles was placed with the depiction of the alien from the 1997 movie of the same name. As bizarre as it seems to have such a modern representation of an ancient church, the gargoyle is not juxtaposed to the beautiful stained glass windows and Gothic architecture. It blends in perfectly. Yet another example of this modern take on gargoyles is the Chapel of Bethlehem, a French church from the Middle Ages. By the 1990s, it was in ruins, and when it was restored, the stonemason tasked with sculpting new gargoyles made the unusual decision to base the new gargoyles on modern fictional creatures, as well as another alien gargoyle that clearly does blend in. The Chapel of Bethlehem has a number of gargoyles inspired by the Mowgli and the Gremlins from the movies Gremlins, and one depicting a cartoon robot called Grindize. Although they serve a humble purpose, gargoyles have been an inspiration for architects for thousands of years. Why so many civilizations have decorated such a all-terrain feature in this way is a mystery. But they continue to entertain and impress people today, and they will probably remain a feature in buildings constructed for many years to come. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Once again, I'm sorry that I'm missing this. I'm at a rally, so I pre-recorded this. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Gargoyles are very fascinating, and I'm anxious to see, do you guys believe these things still exist, or Are they still yet just a figment of our imagination? Let me know in the comments. And remember, like, subscribe, and follow. And until next week, peace, love, and blessings, everyone.